evening, everyone. The time is now 6 p.m. and the Spring Lake Board of Commissioners regular meeting is now called to order. I would like to welcome you to our newly remodeled boardroom. This was a labor of love put on by town staff. This would have cost us a significant amount more than what it did, but we had our police department, our fire department, HR, streets, Carly and John were all in here painting walls, installing carpet, building ramps, buying these beautiful seats. I want to make sure I recognize Derek and our finance department who put those seats together for you. So again, this was a labor of love, and I just wanted to make sure that we recognize our town staff for all the hard work outside of their regular daily duties for making sure that they keep this building at a standard that fits the quality of life we want in Spring Lake. So let's give them a round of applause. I'd like to now invite Bishop Biggers to the podium to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance and invocation. If you could, Bishop, could you introduce yourself in your church as well?
Good evening. Is everyone here okay? All right. I'm Bishop Dr. Gwendolyn Biggers. I'm the senior pastor at His Glorious Praise at 1064 Lillington Highway right here in wonderful town of Spring Lake, North Carolina. We've been there for about 17, 18 years, and we just thank God for the opportunity to serve in that capacity and to this wonderful community. To God be the glory.
If you would like to join us in our Pledge of Allegiance and prayer, could you please stay with us?
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. To God be the glory. It's such a wonderful opportunity to come before you this evening to offer up and render unto God our prayer petitions. We do thank God, amen, for the Spring Lake Ministerial Alliance. We give honor to our president and our vice president and all the cabinets. But here at Spring Lake, we thank God for our mayor, for all of our commissions, the board, just everyone in their respective places, especially our fire, our police, our EMS. So we thank God for you and the citizens. Let us pray. Father, in the matchless name of Jesus, we thank you for another opportunity to seek you, Father, while we're yet in the land of the living. We thank you that your grace is sufficient, Father God, and your mercies, hallelujah, are forever and forever. We thank you, Father, for this gathering, for being in the midst. Lord, we seek your face, Lord. We thank you for your generosity, God, how you continue to bless us in spite of, even when we don't ask, God, you bless us. You heal our bodies, God. God, you have a hedge of protection around us, Father God. God, you meet our every need, God, from the rising of the sun to the going down of the same. You're worthy to be praised. We give you praise and honor, God, for just this opportunity, God, to serve in this capacity to your citizens, God, God, to your children of the kingdom. And we thank you, God, that you brought minds together, God, and planning, God, and Father, and execution as well. So we ask you now, Father, continue to bless their going and their coming, Father. Oh, Lord, we just want to thank you for who you are. We give you glory, we give you honor. In Jesus Christ's name we do pray. Amen, amen, and amen.
Thank you so much, Bishop. We will now move on to agenda item 3. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Hearing and seeing none, I will now call for a motion to approve the agenda. Mayor Pro Tem, I make a motion to approve the agenda. Commissioner Thompson,
I second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We now move on to our approval of the consent items. And this is our draft minutes of the June 18th, 2025 special meeting, the draft minutes of the June 23rd, 2025 work session, draft minutes of July 1st, 2025 special meeting, our quarterly reports, budget amendment 3, military and veterans advisory committee application for both to reappoint Armand and to reappoint Mr. Kennedy. Motion. Commissioner Lackman?
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the approval of the consent items.
Commissioner Pafios?
I second that.
Any discussion? Commissioner Lackman?
Yes, Mayor. I'd like to take a moment to appreciate Armand Perron, who's been our chair for the Military Veterans Affairs Advisory Committee. He has re-upped for 2 years, as well as Robert Kennedy with the DFW 9103. So we have 2 of our stalwart organizations here in Spring Lake that have chosen to re-up and support our military and veteran population.
Any other discussion? I did want to ask, and I probably could ask you earlier, are we tracking how many users we have on the app?
I don't know how to do that, but I can find out from the app.
I just wanted to know
I'll contact them.
if our citizens are actually getting, or are they aware that we have the app, so if there's a way to kind of see the users, that would be great. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're now moving on to our public comment sections. Being mindful that you are only limited to 3 minutes. The town will not respond to any questions during that time. And there will be big notice on the screen to let you know when your time is moving out or running out. We will begin with, is that Javon Young?
Yes.
Please approach the podium. State your name and address for the record.
One second. My name is Javon Young. I'm at 241 Stonebriar. Alright, cool. Yeah, you guys, excuse me, my first time being here. You know what I mean? First of all, how y'all doing? Alright. I have a question. What was the real reason, like, they had shut down, like, Flush?
We are not allowed to answer questions.
Oh, y'all can't answer questions?
We cannot, but what we will do is make sure the information is reported back to you.
Okay, well, I just wanna go ahead and say, man, I thought it was kinda messed up, you know what I mean? They had shut down Flush. I heard it was because of, some situation about, like, they had some bad business spilling over into the parking lot or whatever, you know what I mean? That wasn't no bad establishment, man, you know what I mean? I used to go there, frequent that place quite often, cheap, drinks were pretty cheap, you know what I mean? Food was good, great, and the entertainment was out of this world, you know what I mean? So we can figure out a way to get this back, going, you know what I mean? I know I would be highly appreciative of that, along with, some of the other people, not only from Spring Lake, but also Fayetteville. Yeah, I thought that place was pretty cool, and, I ain't done yet. You know what, I'm out.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Michael Crocker?
Marshall.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Marshall. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mayor Kieran, members of the board, and the staff. My name is Marshall Proctor. I reside at 719 Curtis Circle, Portsmouth, Spring Lake.
Could you put a mic up to you?
I am here to express serious concern regarding the town's failure to follow its own personnel policy in connection with the recent termination of an employee. Under Article 7, Grievance Policy Procedure, Section 1 through 4 of the town's personnel policy, there are clear requirements and steps designed to ensure fairness, consistency, and transparency in employment decisions. These steps are not optional, they are essential to protecting both the employee and the town. In this case, those procedures were not followed. On September 24th of 2024, an employee was terminated without receipt of written notice required by the policy and without any opportunity to respond before the decision was finalized. This is not direct departure from town standard procedures. Such procedures exist for a reason: to safeguard due process, uphold trust in local government, and prevent decisions that could expose the town to inconsistency and potential liability. When these policies are discarded, it undermines both employee rights and public confidence. I respectfully ask that the board, one, receive the facts of this matter against the requirements of the personnel policy. Two, take appropriate corrective action to address this violation. Three, ensure that the town consistently applies these policies in all personal matters going forward. This is not simply about one employment decision. It is about protecting the integrity, accountability, and credibility of our local government. 3 letters were sent to the town. One to the town manager, one to Deanne, and one to HR. A town meeting was scheduled to address this matter before, it was supposed to be before the Alderman board, or whatever board they can conduct. That meeting did not happen. On the day of the meeting, 3 people showed up for that meeting. Carly told them that the meeting was canceled and would not be rescheduled again. That is a direct violation of your own policy.
Thank you, Ms. Crocker. We will now move on to our presentations. So we'll have our water and sewer asset inventory and assessment update. Mr. Honeycutt, now I would like to also let you know that this will be also addressing our focus area 1 while we talk about this job. And that's led by Commissioner Lackman.
Thank you. David Honeycutt with McGill Associates. Appreciate the time to present to the board this evening. And it's been, as I said, we've had our first kickoff meeting with Focus Group 1, and I think that's been a valuable group to have together, and makes some great conversations getting things rolling within that group. So if I can figure out my controls here, but. So I wanted to tonight give you an update on where everything stands with the asset inventory assessment work that we're doing, some other components of that work as well as system development fees, and then further into your next steps that will include in the merger legalization. The asset inventory and assessment work, so just to start off, the town was awarded grants for funding these projects, asset inventory assessment that work for both the water system and the sewer system, and then also grants for doing the merger regionalization study. So this is all funding that has come through the state division of water infrastructure that helps facilitate these funds. So the overall intent with these is to encourage water and wastewater utilities to become something about that quote doesn't quite line up to improve viability and be more proactive in the management and financing of the system. So that's the overall goal of doing the project, is to really encourage forward costs, figure out how to best manage and really improve the long-term viability of your system. So first off, I want to talk a little further about what also is, we're going to be producing a few documents as part of this overall study. The first that I'm talking about tonight is the asset management plan. So the asset management plan is intended to be a working plan. It's a plan that you would reference on a regular basis, that can be updated or should be updated very regularly, as frequently as annually, but as much every couple of years at least, just as you gain more information about the system, as you have failures in the system, as you have identified other challenges, the priorities within that can be expected to change. So what we have done within that work that in getting this started is a significant amount of investigation into the water and sewer system. It's included, I'll get into the details, it includes investigation of both your, water systems and sewer systems to try to gather as much information about those as we reasonably could. But the picture that we've got is still not 100% complete. We're talking about buried infrastructure, we're talking about stuff that's been put in to the ground over the last 60, 70 years. So you'll never have a 100% complete knowledge of what that system fully looks like. But your knowledge of that should be growing over time, and it's been putting together that within the asset management plan is the intention for that to be a place where that growth can be documented and then modified to help you facilitate. So it's a working plan, as I wanted to emphasize, and it's going to include 4 key components. It's an inventory of the system, so to be as complete as is plausible with your links and water main, your valves, your hydrants, the assets within your water system. You have a storage tank, and you all have 2 interconnections on the water system. On the sewer system, it's including your sewer line, manholes, your two lift stations, and your wastewater treatment plant systems within that. So, on the other 3 components is it's a summary of the asset conditions. Again, that condition level of detail is going to vary in certain aspects of that. Some portions of the system will have good, very detailed information on. Some portions, again, are buried in back in the woods that we really don't have access to fully tell you exactly what this looks like. So, fourth part of that is a capital improvements plan. That's our plan. Based on what we know about the system, what are your highest priority projects? What, from a capital standpoint, should you be looking to try to hit as your as priorities to make that system better? It's going to be a 10-year plan with the intention to try to complete as much of that work as is plausible within that 10-year time frame. And I'll talk a little bit more about the financial aspects of that as well. And then also an operations and maintenance plan, just highlighting it's not necessarily going to it's not going to be down to okay, you've got a motor at the wastewater treatment plant that has that needs the oil changed every 3 months or anything to that effect, but it gives you an idea of what intended overall to be a big picture maintenance plan within the system, of what's necessary to maintain and operate the system. So those are the 4 big picture pieces of what the asset management plan portion of the study will entail. So we've developed overall water system maps and sewer system maps. These are stored in ArcGIS. Deanna has access to those, as does Glenn Patton from Little Town as well. So all that information is stored online, and it's kind of a working or somewhat living document that's we go through that, getting updates on it, getting more information built into those systems, filling in some of the unknowns, etc. is continuing to happen. The water system overall, you've got about 361,000 feet of water line in the ground in Spring Lake. About 60% of that is 6-inch diameter. That's your fairly typical line for service. The minimum line size that you can put a fire hydrant on. So it's more the smaller lines within the neighborhoods. Connect the system, not the backbones within that that are more along the mains. You've got about 1,108 valves in the system. Generally, their condition is fair to poor based on what we've seen of age, ability to access, and the level of information we can assess from the ground. All of these valves we're talking about are buried with the water lines, so we're not we can approximate their condition based on their age and their and what we can see from ground in most cases there. 328 fire hydrants there. They're generally good at there. If those are above ground, so we can see the age of those hydrants. Sometimes that is a good clue on the age of the water lines and the age of other parts of the system too. It's a lot of, once you, sometimes those have been replaced, so you don't always, base your age of that, on but those hydrants actually have that stamped into the body of the hydrant, which gives us a pretty good idea of the age. And you have an elevated storage tank, so one tank system is a capacity of 750,000 gallons, located towards the north side of town, or excuse me, south side of town there. Your water system utilizes two different interconnections, one from Harnett County that has a 0.5 MGD agreement. There, again, my max that I put it into this is based on what your agreements with these entities have, not a hydraulic max that those systems may be able to provide more flow than that, but that's what the agreements are indicating. And then the Fayetteville PWC, which is a 0.7 GD capacity there. So in total between the two interconnections, so that adds up to about 1.2 million gallons of capacity. You're currently in gallons per day capacity. I understand that following my presentation, Mr. Rory's going to talk some about the billings and what y'all are currently drawing from those, but just historically on that, your gallons per day purchased has hovered around 1 million gallons a day. That unfortunately you're only selling about 60% of that in the 600,000 gallons a day range. So that's one of the challenges I know you're familiar with. It's been presented at other meetings as well. But so that from an overall capacity standpoint of those interconnections, what that indicates up here is we don't have a need for additional capacity for the water system right now. We have sufficient capacity within the two interconnections. But we do have a significant need to try to reduce that water loss, to improve the condition of the water mains, to reduce the level of leaks that are being found, and to try to close that gap. But from a revenue standpoint, and just a performance standpoint, anytime you have a leak, it can cause lower pressures in the system. It causes significant investment. It really has many negative effects overall on that because of that water loss. So what you'll see within the capital improvements plan, there's the priorities within the system are primarily in water line replacements in those areas that are the oldest areas of the system. We're seeing most that we have understanding have significant leakage within that. We've also looked at adding back additional valves to the system, and are working with Glenn currently on trying to identify a short-term project that could look at creating zones that we can isolate to say. So if we have a water leak in one.
Yes. A little closer, as soon as the air kicked in, we kind of lost you.
Yeah, sorry, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I can hear myself just fine. So we're looking at a short-term project that we've been talking to Glenn and with the focus group about water line, about valve additions within the system to try to prioritize getting areas that we can isolate, such that if you do have a water leak in a particular area, that although we know the valves in the whole system are a challenge to get every single valve up and running, if we can at least say we can isolate that down to an eighth of the system instead of having to cut off half of the town to isolate a water leak, that would be a significant improvement in your water loss, allow the town staff to better focus in on those areas. So we're looking at that as being one short-term, project to put it high priority to try to give us give it another tool to work within those areas and try to address water leaks as quickly as possible by doing that kind of approach. And then as over time, with more replacement of water line and valves, that you would develop that to narrow in those zones and hopefully eventually be able to two, not a down aspect of it. So it's, I think all this is a matter of, you can't fix it overnight. If you didn't get it overnight, it's not gonna get fixed overnight, but you wanna be headed in the right direction with it. From the, for sewer, I'm not gonna try to spend too much time on maps. I know this from a big picture perspective, it's kind of hard to see a whole lot in those maps on the screen. And that's your layout of your sewer system. You've got 6 and 8 inch lines with the smallest lines. It goes up to a 30-inch line at the line going out to the wastewater treatment plant. One aspect of just on age there is the wastewater treatment plant, and that main 30-inch line along the river were built in 77, I believe it was, 76, 77. So yeah, they're both coming up on 50 years old within that. There was a previous plant further closer into town before that time. So certain parts of the system are definitely older than the plant, that line going down the river, but that's some of the age of the system there. There's wondering about the order of my slides in this, but so I'm going to talk about this one since I've got it here. So the other thing that we identified and talked through with some of the focus group was looking at a priority to try to access some of these sewer lines that are in easement areas, right-of-way areas that are outside the road right-of-way. So there's, we looked at that on the mapping, and we've got about 30,000 feet overall of sewer lines that are outside of road right-of-ways. One of the challenges we've had in assessing the system and that operators are dealing with on a daily basis is that access in these areas is very difficult. There's typically a sewer right of way should be set up where it's maintained clear, helps keep trees from getting roots into those sewer lines, allows your maintenance equipment to get back to those areas, etc. But unfortunately, a lot of these areas have not been maintained over the years. They've grown up, and to the point that it's very difficult to get equipment back into those areas, to even walk back into some of these areas. So you're really into working on prioritizing a initial project to get some clearing done. We're looking at probably the first section of that would probably be what I've called A on the map there along the river just upstream to the of the wastewater treatment plant there would be the first priority within that, and then depending upon funding and how the cost of doing that, trying to move down that line. That's not A to H here is not necessarily intended to be the order of priority, and it's something we want to discuss more with operations staff, et cetera, to fully prioritize that. But when I've discussed with the extent that we all agree that that section just upstream of the plan is certainly one of the highest pieces of that we want to focus on here to have better access to that. That's one of the biggest lines, and it is located along the river, which makes it highly susceptible to infiltration and flow, getting water into the system here. So some summary on the inventory of the sewer system there. We have about 250,000 to 49,000 feet of sewer mains through that. About 15 to 20% of that pipe is concrete pipe. About 30 to 35% of it is clay. So you're generally about 50% of that sewer system overall is materials that have not been installed in the past 45 years or so. So at least that 50% of the system is at least that old, is what that materials tell me. We've got 1,027 manholes. We pulled lids on a little over half of those, 546 of those, and look to assess the general conditions of that. And about 30% of those were brick block, and it's typically material that was used, 40 plus, 50 plus years ago. Most, all current, construction is done using precast concrete manholes rather than, brick block. You do, kind of positive thing, if you only have 2 lift stations in the system, for a system of 249,000 feet of, sewer line, that's pretty impressive. You only have to have 2 lift stations, that are pumping sewer from anywhere in the system. One of those is actually really, small pump station. I think it's only serving maybe a dozen or maybe 2 dozen houses or something, that along those lines. The other pump station is a little bit larger than that, but we do recommend you to add backup power to that pump station. The small pump station is small enough that it's not required to have backup power from the based on DEQ standards, but the Cedar lift station is large enough that it should have backup power. And if a power outage, you would have that generator come on, make sure that stays running, so you don't have overflow at that location. So on the wastewater side, I'll just treat your own wastewater. You have a wastewater treatment plant there that is 1.5 MGD permitted capacity. The average daily flow right now is about 1 MGD. Looking back to from 2015 to 2024 records, that flow has been pretty consistent in that it's gone up and down a little bit over that 9-10 year period, from 0.9 to 1.16. And depending upon how wet of a year we've had is what impacts that the most. So that puts it at about 66% of the permitted capacity there. And so on the wastewater side, your capacity is regulated for a treatment plant based on what we call an 80-90 rule. So the state has a rule that when you reach 80% of the permitted capacity for an annual average, that you're required to do a CARE report and plan for a future expansion or other way of addressing that capacity need. At 90%, so at that point, you're basically the state would put you under moratorium or not allow further connections to the system if you reach that without having a plan for what your next steps here are. And then at 90%, you had a plan developed, you're allowed to get up to that 90%. You find the point time to get to 90%. Before achieving that, you've got to have a design and permitting in place to be able to start implementing whatever that next step is. So 66% y'all are starting to look at those levels, but you still have capacity remaining within that before you're there. And the other side of that is in looking at the billing records that I know John's going to talk about some, but is that the water that's coming to your wastewater plant, unfortunately, only about half of it is actually wastewater. So you're billing for around 500,000 gallons a day, a little less than 500,000 gallons a day. So you're treating 1 million gallons a day down there at the plant. So that's on the wastewater side. I would say that's probably more common across the state in seeing that type of discrepancy between billed water and treated water. And the water loss levels that y'all are fighting with. The water loss, I would say, this is probably one of the higher percentages of loss on the water side that I've ever seen. But on the wastewater side, it's not good, but maybe not as, unfortunately, not as different from other as I've seen. That said, there's certainly room for improvement there to try to reel those that infiltration inflow water that's coming from rainfall, soaking into the lines of groundwater. It's those sources that are not billed for, but are finding their way into the sewer system, and that is what causes that. And so, with having concrete lines, clay lines, roots that are going through lines, et cetera, and all that contributes to allowing water that's not supposed to be in the sewer system, into the sewer system. So, and from a capacity standpoint, we don't see a need in the 10-year planning period to be looking at increasing capacity within the system, but really focusing on trying to reduce that I&I, to do improvements within the collection system, to improve the performance of your system, and overall within that. So it's not capacity needs as much as it is just improving condition and better to address that within it. The ugly numbers are the numbers here so we're looking at, we're still not final numbers, but this is where we're headed within the capital improvements plan to address, needs. So we put the isolation valve project I mentioned at the top of that, list at $250,000. So I'm gonna call that a bit of a placeholder budget and maybe what's attainable type of a budget, and that is how that number was derived. I don't have that's explicit. We need to do 10 valves at these locations with that right now, but we're working towards that end. Then the project below that starts to look at each of the line replacements. It's trying to look at these older areas of town and trying to replace lines that have been significant sources of leaks to improve the condition of the system. So, we prioritize those to an extent. Within that, that's what I talk about this being a working plan. That doesn't necessarily mean that you start to see. I've got just throwing in as an example. We've got Deerfield as sort of the third section down in that. If for some reason we're seeing significantly more challenges in Deerfield over the next couple of years, then maybe that needs to move up and Max Street move back or something like that. So it's not necessarily written in stone. That's part of the reason that we call it a working plan to modify as you have as we go forward. We are recommending a water tank project that you're approaching, having just had a day's worth of storage within your current tank, and given its location towards the north side of town, and add capacity to better, so that you have more capacity in the air to better withstand outages in the other systems there, and to better to improve the hydraulics on that south side of town. We've got a water tank recommendation in that, and then the one at the end there is that last piece is not is trying to remove the other asbestos cement type line that's in the system that we've not hit with some of the other projects. It's a little more spread around in different areas, and would likely be something you would break up into multiple individual projects. But as we get closer to that point, it's again towards the end of the CIP period within that. Then similarly on the sewer system there, we've got the sewer interceptor investigation, and that's trying to clear out the interceptor right of ways within that and do more evaluation of those main interceptors. That may include some video work down in the lines as well, with several different techniques that can be used to try to assess the condition of those. And really, the first step is just to be able to get access to them, and be able to take a look down the manholes, so you can walk along the areas there and see if there's anything that's abnormal in those areas that might be a sign of challenges that need to be addressed and further investigated. Further down we're looking at rehab replacement projects. Those are trying to utilize a mixture of technologies to replace lines of just actually digging them out and replacing it in some cases, and using other trenchless technologies like replace pipe or manual rehabilitation where we can to try to make Fowler go as far as they can. The details of which of it would be used we determine during the design, so that from a capital improvement standpoint, we can make some assumptions about what percentages of those areas would be able to do different techniques within, and move forward with the project to refine that scope and determine exactly how to do that. That's probably the main points to address on there. So that's before I go to system development, so that's what we're looking at within asset inventory assessment. So an asset management plan that addresses those aspects of the system, gives you that inventory, it gives you going back to all of that. It gives you inventory, it gives you the conditions of the system, capital improvements, plan for the system. So I didn't really present on the operations maintenance plan, but that's part of it would be included within that document overall as well. So that's the asset management plan portion of it. The other one of the other components of the study that we're working on, the state tries to incorporate developing a system development fee into the study. And so basically the system development fee was set up by the state legislature as a prescribed process. They first passed a bill in 2017, House Bill 436. They modified it a couple times since then, but basically it's a calculation process that allows you to account for the cost of the capacity of the system. So as you add new customers, those customers obviously have not invested in that system the way that the town has over the last 50, 60, 70 plus years. And those assets that they are utilizing by connecting the system have a value to them. So the state, prior to 2017, there was not really a rule as to how you could assess a fee to accommodate for that. But within this House bill, they defined that process. The system development fee looks at new developments, looking at subdivision plan, looking at where construction, structural training, increases your service needs. You got a shell building that's being developed into a bunch of different stores, or restaurants, et cetera. It's changing the need, or anything that changes the sewer service associated with a particular area there. So the idea is to look at it in such that growth makes for growth, so that you're not putting the burden of the additional customers being added to the system on your existing customers. So that is prescribed to be done through a written analysis prepared by a financial professional, licensed engineer, and gives us accounting practices, engineering planning methodologies, so exactly it's pretty tight how that can be done. What that analysis looks at is a lot of the data that's been developed through the asset inventory, determine what your current assets are, their values overall, and looking at depreciation of those assets and the capacity with them, the capacity remaining, et cetera, and coming up with a calculation that looks at what the value of that is. Once that is done, we will basically we'll have a number. There are a couple numbers that look at the system development fee for water, and the system development fee for sewer as a cost per equivalent residential unit. So that's what you typically expect from a single family home. And that basically, the calculation tells you the maximum discount charge in that. So, say that number comes up to $2,000, then anything less than that number, you can choose to charge. So you can say, we're going to do 60%, or 80%, or 100% of that to put onto new customers, new growth, new services. That's where that applies. And then from that, analysis is posted on the website, that, you've got 45 days, for public comments to come in through that. And then, after that 45 days, you hold a public hearing on it, and adopt it at the same, adopt it at that same night, so the same, meeting as the public hearing. So that's what we're working on that process right now, collecting data from the town, on that. Town staff's committed to having the remainder of the, outstanding items to us by the end of this month, 1st of September, there, so that we can complete that calculation for you and provide that report. With the timeline we're looking at there, for that data to then have a report, drafted, ready for staff review towards the end of September, and then, from there we look at presenting that to the board and moving on to the public comment section and, section within that. So next steps there, finalizing that water and sewer AIA. I continue to work with the, that is close to complete, but we do want to give a little more time to refine a couple of numbers, talk to town staff about a few questions that are still outstanding, and make sure that we've got all of our, all the ducks in a row per se in that development. I think it's pretty close, but I just want to make sure that everybody's had time to see it before y'all move forward with any kind of adoption of that. System development fee, I talked about the steps in that, already, but looking to have all of that in hand to move forward with that calculation by the end of this month. And then you'll see that coming back to you sometime this fall. Provide our final reports on asset management plans to you, there, which, I think will happen here in the next month or so there. And then from there, the other piece of it is merger regionalization analysis. We've taken a step back from that and trying to make sure that we get the asset inventory work complete, the capital improvements plans ready to go. I know John and town staff had some other conversations with potential partners in those. The goal right now is to try to get the asset management plan and system development plans, these internal components of this, in hand first, and then from there, that really should help us to have more meaningful conversations with other entities and see how we can best partner, if it makes sense to partner with anybody else in the area to move on to the next steps. That's not a lot. That's the last one.
You did it. Thank you for that. You answered a few of the questions that I had. But can we get a date approximation, the time frame for the AIA to be complete? Are we looking at 2 weeks, 30 days, 90 days?
No. We're, to a degree, it depends on some of the information coming back and forth there. I think within, let me say 30 days. I think it can be sufficient for us to get those last few pieces nailed down to the point that we're comfortable with it and get that I know it's certainly been a priority for town staff in getting that back with us. I'm pretty confident that they'll be able to get those questions worked out and have that nailed down for you guys.
One other question, you were talking about what our pipes are made of, and we have clay and concrete that makes up about 50%. What's the other 50% made of?
Another 50%, be PVC or ductile iron, cast iron. So,
And these are all more modern.
yeah, well, PVC and ductile iron definitely, cast iron is still, somewhat older, but, yeah, we've not seen as many issues with those as we have with clay and concrete pipes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. I had a question. You said that, there were some pipes that there's growth or we just can't locate them right now. How are we gonna go about, locating those that we are having a hard time getting access to?
So this is a map of the sewer system that, we've developed. Those, the ones that are highlighted in green there are the ones that, we don't have great access to. So we think we know pretty close to where they are from the older mapping, from other, from design plans, et cetera. So that's how they're set up on the map, is based on that, based on the best information we have. But as far as going about getting access to that, we've been having discussions with, Jonathan and the group already about that. I think looking at getting a company in there to clear those right of ways, take down trees, basically spread it up, to clear that out and smooth it out as best as we can, such that it's down to a point that the town staff from that point forward could maintain it and keep that stuff from growing in there. But I think we know pretty close to where to get them started and to point them down the road. In that, it's gonna be to agree that it will be some working together with somebody like that to with their company just to get that stuff out of there, having the town staff flag the manholes, flag the things in that to make sure they're headed in the right direction, getting that along the lines.
Okay, but aren't some of those areas like, residential areas?
Most of these areas are out through wooded areas. Can't speak to all of them, but I don't think that there's anything in there that's like a backyard per se or anything like that. But it's out in forested areas generally.
Okay, so we're talking about the dark green, right? Not
Yes.
the lighter green.
Yeah, it's sort of medium green. But
About these things.
yeah.
So you're talking about those
Yeah.
thick green. Okay, got it,
Thicker
got it.
greens, yes.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Mayor, thank you. David, I appreciate this. I've learned a lot about wastewater treatment and water treatment as we go through here. One of the things when we talked, we have 1,108 valves, and the $250,000 that's allocated for that really replaces about 50 valves. So as we're looking at replacing these valves over time, this is not something we can just walk in there and replace every valve, and boom, we've got brand new valves. Congratulations. It's going to be something that's going to take prioritizing, and we've got a list of areas that have more needs than others. But as you said, by replacing those valves, marking those valves, knowing where those valves are, making sure they're in good shape, will allow for fewer water shutoffs, allow it to be isolated, and as we go through here, also be able to identify those leaks. And that's where the residents come in handy, is if you see water leaks out there, that we can get those turned in so we can work on getting those addressed to reduce that 40% water that's just seeping into the ground. And then we can also address the wastewater that's going in there at some point. But this will allow us the ability to be more manageable in our efforts for water and sewer for our residents. So with that, I do appreciate the information, the massive amount of information that was put out. But yes, we do have to start addressing those water lines that have been underground, not knowing that they're there, not caring that they're there, as long as we get water and sewer usage out of that. So, Yes, sir, that's the next step we'll be working on those right of ways, those easements to be able to track down those sewers and put those in place. But thank you.
Commissioner Clausen?
Thank you. So I agree with the mayor. I mean, this, in reference to the AIA study, I think this has been ongoing for like a year and a half. So, you know, I know there's a lot of work that gets involved in that. So my question really was about the proposed capital improvement projects. So we were given a presentation that we went over in June, and the water tank was gonna cost, the estimated cost, these are all estimates, I get it.
Yeah.
$3 million, and now we're looking at, $2.4 million, right? So it's a $600,000 swing. Overall, the capital improvement projects changed from the last update by $2 million. So is this more in line with, more accurate what we're gonna be presented, like with AIA going forward? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I think we refined the numbers some from what we had in the previous setup there. I think, yeah, what we had on the water tank, I didn't look into the specifics of that a little bit closer, but I believe we had a little bit, I did reduce the size of that some, as part of the reason we're seeing that, saving on that particular item, or reduction in that.
Yeah,
particular item.
overall $2 million
Yeah.
reduction in cost so far, so that's great. That's all I had, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kenneth. We appreciate you, and if there are no other questions or comments, we'll move on. Thank you, sir. We will now move on to our bulk water and sewer purchases and sale. Mr. Rory?
Mayor, you'll see that this begins in sequence as we go by a little bit. As we go through this, you'll see that this is actually part of the system. Everything has to be looked at, nothing is isolated. And you know I'm a big fan about doing the math and living within the math. So everything that we talk about in terms of numbers are always approximations, always estimates, and never are they should they be considered as absolute. So even with David's presentation, if you look at what was 36 million and 43 million, next thing you know, you got $80 million. Well, you can't spend $80 million overnight. It's $80 million plus 5% next year, plus another 5% next year, plus another 5% next year. So it just balloons and escalates because time is of the essence, and our ability to get these things done is going to be limited. So one of the things that we're also looking at is the water and sewer rates that we have for contract outside of town residents. It's important to understand that they are outside of town residents. As we look at both of these, as I go through them, there are two separate agreements. One is for water, and the other is for sewer. But they're not the same entity, even though we refer to them as Over Hills Park. Okay, there are two different entities that are doing this. So as we go forward, I just want to be able to highlight some of those things. So forgive me for reading to you straight from our fee and rate schedule. This is online. This is in our budget, and I'm going to painstakingly go through this bit by bit. First and foremost, you'll see that water is assessed at flat rate and is metered at the first gallon of usage. Everybody misses that point about the first gallon of usage and the flat rate. So whether you use 0 gallons, nothing, you're going to have a minimum water bill of a flat rate of $10.64. Then when you use a gallon of water, you're going to now get in that tier 1 coming from 0 to 3,000 gallons, $9.42. So that first gallon of the 3,000 tier 1 costs you $9.42. So, but it don't cost you any more at $2,999. It's just when you go over this point that you start to look at these flat rates. Sewer is assessed a flat rate and is metered at the first gallon of usage. They're supposed to be comparative. Day in, day out, they're supposed to be the same. You'll notice there, those two highlighted sections, the minimum rate for a flat rate for water inside is $10.64. If you go down, the, usage rate from 0 to 3,000, tier 1 is $9.42. The sewer inside, the flat rate for sewer is $20.23. And the usage rate for sewer is $9.08 from 0 to 3,000. Water outside, the flat rate for water outside is $21.28. Mathematically, that should be double what the inside water rate is. That sewer outside is, the flat rate is $40.46. Mathematically, that is double what the inside sewer rate is. And the same holds true for the usage rates at 1884 and 1816 respectively. They're double what an in-town customer pays. Rates for customers who reside outside the corporate limits of the town of Spring Lake will be double, period. Right, this is adopted in our ordinance, and essentially it is a law. Now let's talk about this in terms of what, this comes out of our, off of our website as well as part of our fee and rate schedule. This highlights the minimum bill inside, and then you'll see for each 1,000 gallons, it's $9.42, $9.42, $9.42. So you, here on the board, right, will have that flat rate charge of $10.64, and then you'll have, for the first 1,000 gallons, $9.42. For the next 1,000 gallons, $9.42. And the 3,000 gallons total means your water bill will be $38.90. In that, okay? Because it's the first gallon usage. The same holds true for the sewer, going across from top to bottom. 2023, 29.31, 38.39, 47.47. So the average customer, the average resident in town, is paying a water and sewer bill equivalent to 3,000 gallons of usage, or somewhere in the ballpark of $86.37 total per month. $86.30. If you live in town, your average water and sewer bill is $86.37. Now, what about our agreements? Since July 13th of 2009, we've had a water agreement to supply water from the town's water system. For the record, we don't produce water, we purchase water. The only thing that is the town's water system is the storage tanks and the pipes, whether they're ductile iron, galvanized, or clay, or asbestos cement, or whatever. That's what the water system is, all right? But we don't produce water, we purchase it. This agreement calls for this group, the Oak Park agreement, for them to purchase a minimum of 750,000 gallons of water per month. A minimum of 750,000 gallons per month. It's at a bulk rate. The billing rate, based on that 2009 agreement, was $2.95 per thousand. Now, it's a long time between 2009 and now, right? So our rates have went up. It was originally $2.95. And so as we look at this over time, you go, okay, what impact has that had, and what has that done for us in terms of our billing and collections? This is what we currently charge for bulk water in our current budget as it is today. All right? We take in charge $4.14 a bulk water rate, but we purchase that bulk water from PwC at a rate of $4.62 per thousand. We have a problem. We're selling bulk water, whatever cents that is cheaper than we pay for it. So every customer inside the city limits is subsidizing this outside water rate at a bulk rate because it costs us more to purchase it. And we charge inside customers $9.42 per thousand. So, you know, just wrap your head around that for a second. And it's real. What does that look like? So I did what every little bit of math person would do. I created a little spreadsheet. Don't mean it's right, just means it's close. Give or take a few dollars here or there. But basically, if you look from July 23 through June 24, I'm trying to keep the comparisons the same, right? So I have to pick a moment in time instead of trying to pick one this month and that month. I try to keep the same time period. And I look at the usage. Go down from July 23, the very top line, flat meter rate was $9, the usage was $1,179,224. Go all the way down now to February of 24, the flat meter rate was $9.09, and the usage was $557,279. We billed them for $557,279,000 gallons with an agreement that said they were gonna purchase a minimum of $750,000. That's the historical record. Right? It is what it is, and here we are. And so then you see those changes. So those usage numbers are all over the place. Ranging from 557 to 1.3 million. They're all over the place. You would think that there would be a common month-to-month usage. Now I understand the summer months might be a little bit more, people are watering, doing this, doing that, the other things. But there should be some kind of consistency among this schedule. What I find when I look over 4 years is it's about 10 million gallons a year. Period. Okay? So they're purchasing 10 million gallons a year. So when you come across and you look at that bottom line there, the total number at 10,788,480, the flat rates that they pay for a year is $109. The actual usage rate is 44, and so at $4.14, that total number would be $44,773.39. If we went straight to what we're currently purchasing at $4.62, you still have the same flat rate. The usage rate goes up, and now the total is $49,951.09. I can't forget that 09 Jimmy's here, so I gotta make sure it's involved. But so at the end of the day, what we're talking about here is a different rate structure. You'll see that bottom line down there says 508, which includes a 10% uptick in our purchase price. This is critical because we don't produce water, we purchase water, but we pipe it through our system out there. And that doesn't matter if it's in town, out of town, across town, uptown, it don't matter. Everywhere, we can't fix the pipes. If we move to a $5.08 per thousand usage rate, bulk water rate, that'll now be, that whole, if all things remaining the same, 10,788,000 gallons, it would be about $54,000 a year. So there's a delta of about 44 to 54, or about $10,000 between what we're doing, what we're underbilling, and then what we're recommending to bill at. Make sure that we can fix the systems in place. That very number right there about fixing things, in one of these charts, I didn't show it today. All right, because I'll be talking about this later too. The meter broke. And so all we did was estimate the usage for about 6 months at $750,000. And that's all we billed it for. We didn't fix the meter, we just estimated the usage and got out there and got it at the work on it. That's the water agreement. Live within the math, do the math, think about what that impact is on the different customer classes that we have, inside town, outside town. The sewer agreement. We've been into this Overhills Park sewer agreement since 2014. Now, we didn't start billing on September 8th, 2014. It actually took us a little bit more time to get hookups done and so forth. So you're really talking about a time period of about 2016 where this stuff starts to kick off as they hook up to the system. What I understand is that this Overhills Park was beginning to have septic failures, and so they needed an environmental alternative to the septic systems. And so they came to the town and said, okay, will we do this? The town agreed to accept the sewer from Overhills Park, and there are basically, it applies to 317 parcels. But right now, they're hovering at about 80-some hookups. Okay? So keep in mind that there's still the other 200 out there that potentially could look into the system. The cost in the agreement, this one is the best of it, I admit it. It says that built into the system is a sanitary sewer rate being charged to Overhills as shown in Exhibit B. I'll get it out in a second. There's Exhibit B. We charge them $9.25, think flat rate, per tap. And we charge them $4 per 1,000 gallons. That's what we were charging them when we first entered into this agreement in 2014. The same agreement says that sewer expressed in 1,000 gallons by applicable rate per 1,000 gallons for this customer class. The rate per 1,000 gallons shall be subject to change annually. Since 2014, we've been charging $4 per 1,000 gallons and $9.25 per tap. That's what we're currently charging for the month of July 2025. $4 per 1,000, $9.25 per tap. What does that look like? You'll see this is just simply a bill from April of 2025, so it's pretty recent. So you'll notice down here, it says the flat rate per connection. You'll notice there's 317. Consider that as an availability fee. All of them pay that, but only 80 of them, or approximately 80 of them, are hooked up. It's a little more than 80. And they pay $9.25. That means they're billed at $9.25 multiplied by 317 equals $2,907. Then you look at the usage gallons billed. 441,000 gallons with only 80 people hooked up to the system, right? And it is metered into a lift station, which is the total billing there was $1,765. So the total bill for April of 2025 for the 80 sewer customers was equivalent to $4,697. Keep in mind, inside customers, outside customers. So holding true to those tap fees over here in the left column, all right, you'll see the usage by month, July, September, October, the billing. I went back and verified these, then I come up with what that number is. So between July 24 and June 25, fiscal year 25, right? We billed the Overhills Park sewer portion, roughly 59,290 folks. Okay? For all our sewer out there. That's what we do. Currently, the left chart shows what we charge inside residents. In July of 24, the flat rate is $17.29. In July of 24, the flat rate for Overhills was $9.25. Coming down to February, on the left side, left chart, you'll notice that it changes to blue. That's because that's when we did the rate increase. Alright? And so now the flat rate went to 2023. The usage average stays the same. So all I'm trying to do is calculate, alright, to come up with some type of what an average bill was for our average customer in Spring Lake. So the total sewer bill of June for the average customer was $45. Total sewer bill. Come across to the outside customers, and you do that direct comparison, staying true to, you'll see that it's double. So if you live outside the town limits, they double, except for Overhills. Basically, what's happening is this is inverted. We're charging our in-town residents twice as much as we're charging outside residents. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. So the ordinance itself talks about doubling the flat rate. This agreement's been in place, and it's just been we gotta address it. What should we be doing? So the left over here again, shows that 1 year about 59,000. If we charge them double, like we should in terms of that customer class, that total bill would jump over from 59,000 to 263,000. What that tells me is that we've underbilled them to the tune of about $200,000 a year for the last 5, 6, 7 years. Whenever we changed it, because of what the rates were, for a long time. I can't really pinpoint that. So what do we need to do? We need to address that immediately. I have met with the county manager and told him that I would be briefing the board in regards to this tonight. I have shared the information that you just saw, basically the charts. I shared those with him too. I have talked to their public works person and their public works engineer, they're both in the same department, about this rates and these changes. It's just been bumped along, nobody's ever looked at it. Later tonight, you'll see a discussion on the fee rate schedule. I have it right here. And you'll see that number come up as being changed to $5.08. It is staff's recommendation that we build over Hills Park water rate at $5.08 effective August. So at the end of this month, they'll be billed at that rate of $5.18. Then we're going to apply, it is our recommendation that we apply the double rate to the outside customers in the Over Hills Park, which means it's going to be $40 and something or whatever I just showed you on that chart. But it's going to be dramatically different. It remains my concern that the residents of the town of Spring Lake should not be subsidizing the water and sewer system for the benefit of those who live outside the city limits. David just mentioned it himself about if you've lived in Spring Lake 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, or whatever, you have paid for that water system and that sewer system over and over and over again. Now you're looking at roughly $80 million of repairs to that system. I don't think you should be in a position where you give that away. You talked about system development fees. So imagine if 150 homes were built and the minimum system of development fee to buy into that sewer capacity was $5,000. That equates to $750,000 of system development fees that would pay for these upgrades related to capacity impacts, because new growth should pay for growth. Old growth, those that have been here, should pay for the ones that come here. So we gotta be very cognizant of that when we look at all of our billing, all of our rate structures. He also mentioned that when it comes down to our actual billing and rates, I'll talk about this in our manager comments later about our meters. But one of the things that we assume is that we know that we're only billing for a portion of our water purchases. We know we're only billing for a portion of our water treatment. So we have a leakage problem or a reading problem on the water side, and we have an I&I problem on the sewer side. And so if we don't address either one of those, we're not going to be able to approach this capacity, and we're not going to see growth in the community. We've got to do the math, and we have to live within the math. That will be our recommendations, and we'll be forthcoming later in our big election.
Wow. Again, thank you for being diligent and staying on top of these contracts. 2014, we've been undercharging by half to non-taxpaying residents. They are not paying for the systems that you're paying for. So thank you for addressing this. I can't wait to see it come before the board so that we can make these adjustments as rapidly as possible, so that we are making sure we're being responsible with the tax dollars of our residents. Is there any questions or comments from the board? No? Okay, we'll move on with our focus, group 2 briefing from Commissioner Palacios.
Thank you, Mayor. We have limited briefing tonight because of, focus group 1's long briefing. Needed briefing, I get it, I'm just saying. Anyway, so the gist of it though, and we'll, be prepared to present next meeting, is that we're addressing gaps, loopholes, and generalizations in our ordinances when it comes to basically beautification, cleanup, and appearance of the town. And so we want to make sure that as we hire a sworn code enforcement officer, that they're able to execute, you know, the ordinances of the town that are going to work for the town. And to make sure that there aren't loopholes, make sure there's specific workflows. If you get cited for an overgrown yard, that you know what the process is, that your neighbors know what the process is, and the town staff know what the process are. So we were, like I said, most of the team is here. So we were prepared to meet, to discuss this tonight, but we're gonna do that at another meeting. But we've been working hard on that. So if it's okay, I want to transition to the next agenda item.
Absolutely. Okay, yard of the month.
Yard of the month. So that flows nicely into this yard of the month. So the town of Spring Lake is committed to honoring and recognizing our citizens who upkeep and maintain their properties in a way that beautify the town of Spring Lake. And so we're excited to recognize those. We can have meetings in July, so we have a couple winners in July. If you are here when I call your name, please stand and we will get you your certificate at the end. The first winners are Benny and Annie Pierce out of Lake Tree. Thank you. Please remain standing. Anita Miller off of 5th. All right. And those are our 2 winners for July. And now August. Jacob Rosales. The fire chief moved a little bit there,
Fix my seat.
Sam and Tony Burgess out of Deerfield. Chavis and Cassie Graham. And we have our first business of the month, recognized for their yard, and that is Sonic Drive-In. Are they here tonight? They couldn't rollerblade over here with the rain, I guess. They were very excited. They will have a sign at their yard if it's not already placed. I think it is. So, but we'll get them the certificate and everybody else who weren't here. If you are a winner, please come up. Thank you guys so much. And keep it up. You can win more than once. Mr. Burgess and his wife, they are winners multiple times. I think this is the second time in a year that they've won. Let's get a picture by the flags if we can, please. Sam's going to be upset that she wasn't here to get a picture, I'm sure. Okay. Hold down the fort. Come on, please. And our appearance committee members, please come up. These are the people that nominate and select our winners. We can squeeze them down here.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Okay, we will now move on to this, Commissioner Palacios, please to his seat. Now we will move on to our new business, our special events permit application, the Hope Encounter. Pastor, would you like to come up and tell us a bit about your event?
thanks for having me. I learned a lot about sewer and water. Mr. Honeycutt left, but I knew nothing, and now I know something. A great night. And rest assured, $80 million is a lot. I'm only asking you for 3.5. Just kidding. Thank you, Mayor and Council. We at pastor of Living Water Church right down the street, and we're this weekend. I know it's fast, and I know this has been a long process, and with the shutdowns, with the meetings and all, we bring it to you 6 days before it's supposed to happen. But we'll put a lot of time and effort into this. Our Hope Encounter is designed to bless the town of Spring Lake. We have partnered with Convoy of Hope, which is an international relief organization. They travel to any area that there's natural disasters. There's trucks on the road. The first trucks to hit Asheville after the flood were Convoy of Hope. You don't really see a lot of it on the news, but they were there before anyone else helping. They have tractor trailers, planes, helicopters, whatever it takes to get people relief. Inside of Convoy of Hope, they have a organization called Rural Initiatives, where they want to serve underprivileged areas, and we were selected out of many, many, many places. Spring Lake was chosen, and we're grateful for that. And anyway, they're providing groceries for 5,000 families. We have partnered with the North Carolina Assemblies of God, NCAG. Their women's department has helped us secure some mental health, some physical wellness. We had a mammogram truck secured with free mammograms for a certain number of uninsured people. The truck has not been able to appear, so we're offering sign-ups, and then we'll bring the truck back either September or October and honor those people that have signed up. We're offering free haircuts for back to school. We have backpack giveaways and all this. And all this is going to be free. We have tirelessly looked for a location, the Southwinds Plaza. Half of it said no way. The other half said yes, you can come. And then the one half told the other half they couldn't have us. So we looked for another location, looked out here, and police and fire respectively said won't work. And I agree, it's a lot. And then we settled on Mendoza Park, and we met with part of the committee and came up with a plan that may well work very well for the town. So this Saturday, we are hoping, it's up to you, to pull off this event that it really will be a huge blessing to the town of Spring Lake.
Thank you, Pastor Williams. So this is coming before the board because you are expecting 2,000 or 5,000 people to show up?
Correct.
Okay, and so it's coming before the board for approval because of capacity. Do you have any questions or comments? Commissioner Lockton?
Thank you. Pastor, I'm looking at the display that where this will be. Mendoza Park is getting close. Dramatic pause. Finally being open again. The vendor tents that you've got listed here are out in the ball fields and covering the fresh sod
Yes, sir.
that has been placed out there.
Mm-hmm.
With that number of patrons and tentage and vendors that are out there, what's that going to do to our freshly laid sod?
We are hoping to minimize that by keeping everything on the dirt. I met with Coach Z today, and we talked about that, because the last thing that we want to do is mess up anything that has been so beautifully laid out. So we want to push everything as close as we can to the dirt. So as the people come through, we're hoping to make it like a circle of bases to reach the vendors and reach the help that's going to be available there. So we're hoping to keep everyone on the dirt and not on the freshly laid sod.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mayor Brother?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you for bringing this to Spring Lake, because we do have a lot of families that are in need and that will benefit from this, so thank you.
And this wasn't easy. that's the word. This was not an easy feat. It's not that he started just now.
No.
It's that this has been an ongoing process. So
Yes.
thank you for your commitment to seeing this through. That's a big deal. So we definitely appreciate it. So if there, Commissioner Palacios?
Is my light on?
No, it's not.
We have new buttons, so I don't know when it's on. Okay, so buses, you have buses at the top of the parking lot, north side.
Yes, sir.
Is there a way to get those buses to your church instead of to the parking at the park?
The buses right now are not, we don't have a bus coming.
Okay.
There's a
So it's gonna be
mammogram bus
parking.
and a haircut bus,
Oh.
and both of them are non-existent. So what we're doing is moving the haircut location, because electricity thing, to the church. And the church is gonna be the overflow parking, and all that. Will have security and parking attendants up there. But the buses will not, buses aren't gonna appear.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that's about 50 parking spots you don't want to
Correct.
lose either, so that's great.
And that
Okay.
lower parking lot's gonna be for the, volunteers. It won't be open to the public. We're gonna gate it off right at the turn, so people can park on that street or they can come up to the church. We'll have directional signs of people directing them up to the church. Park to the church, they can walk down the sidewalk. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, yeah, you're probably gonna need people out there too, because it's gonna be a mess. And that
Yes.
parking lot through that old gas station is rough.
It's terrible. Right?
So, all right, Pastor, the music, is it gonna be appropriate? Gotta ask these days, because,
You wanna know about the music or the dancers?
no, because you're gonna be sharing the park with everybody else, so.
Family, appreciated church music.
Thank you. All right, and then, I know this was approved July 9th, right? And so it just got to us on the 16th, and the 11th for the 16th, and that's for obvious reasons. Was there any reason other than that there was a delay? Other than we just don't have a meeting?
It was finding the proper location
Yes.
and going through the channels to find.
Okay, so you originally went through an approval process with the special events team
Correct.
on the 9th of July.
Yes, and that was after, we had the Southwinds Center secured from mid-March until mid-June. And that's when they came back and said the other side was throwing a fit, so.
Understood, okay. All right, that was just more of an internal question, I guess.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, that's it.
Yes, I did. Is it gonna be, any type of security?
Yes, we have a security team. We are also open to hiring some Spring Lake Police Department if they're available.
And also, you said they have to walk down from the, church, but there
Yes,
are
ma'am.
some grandparents with children who are not gonna be able to do that. Do you have any type of?
We do. We partnered with the YMCA. They're gonna run buses from our church down to the property and back every half hour. I'm just finding this out as I'm, and then, I believe Cornerstone Church is offered to, use their bus, pick up from their lot and transfer down also. Yeah, we realized that many of the people that need it can't make it to the park, so we're trying to, Miss Deborah Hudson has helped us out tremendously with, trying to coordinate buses and things like that, so.
Are the buses gonna go in the neighborhoods too?
I'm not 100% sure.
All right, thank you.
I'm hoping, yeah.
What's the time?
The time is from 11 a.m. That's when it will actually start till 2 p.m. The setup will start at between 8 and 8:30 Saturday. Now, I will tell you that Friday night we're packing 40,000 pounds of groceries and 24 pallets of groceries and all that. So anybody under the sound of my voice that wants to help, you're welcome to come to the church. 5:30 to 8:30 on Friday, and we will be glad to have all the help that we can get. We have many churches from outside of Spring Lake coming. I think 6, 7, 8 churches from all around the state coming to help because they want to be a part of helping serve this town. It's great.
Are there any other questions or comments from the board? I'll now entertain a motion, to approve, the special events permit application for open counter. And I just want you to know, everybody's light is lit up. I'm assuming Commissioner Palacios was just, it's not working. Mayor Pro Tem.
So moved.
Commissioner Palacios.
I second that.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That motion unanimously carries.
Greatly appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you, we appreciate you. Right. Now moving on to, agenda item 8E, resolution 2025-08, declaring certain real property as surplus and authorizing the sale pursuant to NCGS 168-269. Commissioner Roy?
Very quickly, the town of Spring Lake has acquired some property, roughly about 5 acres, as part of what we typically refer to as the Spring Lake property acquisitions. It was roughly 166 total acres, and in order to start the process, the board, the Spring Lake Property Acquisitions Board, borrowed roughly $330,000 from the general fund to start the purchase of this property. That particular property on the right, highlighted in red, is the one that we're talking about declaring surplus. It's 5 acres, and the HUD closing cost to purchase that property was $104,000, give or take a few. So today, all of that property, we have about, the Spring Lake Property Acquisitions Group owes about $3.5 to $4 billion in debt on the purchase of that property. The Spring Lake Property Acquisitions Group was supposed to refund the $330,000 to the general fund, but there is no longer a Spring Lake Property Acquisitions Group. So the whole process, the whole property, everything is, I don't know what to call it, but everything is something else than what it is. And so, pursuant to the statutes, as the mayor mentioned, is that, we can declare this property surplus and sell it. It's because that one piece of property, that 5 acres, is in the town of Spring Lake's name. It was the first property bought as part of SLPA, so therefore it's deeded and it is not hung up or connected with this other SLPA stuff. It's connected. It has been under abatement for years. The entire property has been used for an illegal dump site. I know that some of the military groups, veterans groups, staff, Commissioner Lackman and other commissioners have been out there diligently trying to clean up that property. In one day, they removed 66,000 pounds of stuff off of there. And so this is just some pictures or highlights of the property itself. It is what we would refer to as an impaired asset. So even though we had a HUD closing and bought it at 104, with all that junk on it, it ain't worth 104. So I've been working with a group, a guy who wants to buy the property, specifically a military contractor that can co-locate out there that provides some services. I don't know exactly what to tell you, some of the top secret stuff that he does. But I do have an offer to purchase that property. That offer is negotiated at $75,000. Keep in mind that that piece of property in the town of Spring Lake for 5 acres is producing 0 revenue to support town operations, whether it's police, fire, or whatever it may be, water or sewer. And so we have a piece of property that's doing nothing to benefit our residents. So that negotiated offer is at $75,000. That offer has been reviewed by Hutchins Law Firm in terms of our attorney, in terms of the agreement, to make sure it's just standard documentation. They made very, very minor edits to it, naming and escrow agents and things of that nature. But what we have to do is first to declare the property as surplus, as outlined in general statutes. In this case, the council has the discretion to hold or change the use or dispose of real personal property. There are certain methods that they do that. One of them is the negotiated offer. You can do sealed bid, you can do, depending upon the price, you can do other different types of opportunities. But the most effective way to make sure that the town gets a competitive rate, or sells this property, for the benefit of our residents and taxpayers at a, rate or an appropriate price, is to go through the negotiation process, which we have done, with a private bidder. We will be prepared, if approved tonight, we will be prepared to immediately cite in the paper the 10-day upset period. Carly can talk about that. The statutes are clear, the clerk has to do that. And you see it laid out here in terms of what we have to do. We're prepared to do that. If the board is willing to move forward with this negotiated offer, maybe we've got a law firm, and pass and approve the resolution to declare it surplus and follow the statutory process to dispose of this property and get it back on the tax rolls. That's it.
Any questions or comments from the board? Commissioner Thompson?
I just would like him to let everybody know when that property was, purchased.
2120, a while ago.
Yes.
Yes, a while ago. And so, a long time ago.
2019?
Yeah.
And it's been a moving target, in terms of, ownership and the asset and the board, dissolving and going away, audits, different things associated with it. We're moving forward.
Mr. Borden?
Yeah, just to be clear, before anyone on this board now was on the board. And, just so the public understands, I think Mr. Rory said it, but, SLPA is a separate entity. This is just a small parcel that happened to originally be deeded directly to the town.
Thank you. I wanted to make sure that point was.
Yes.
Commissioner Leffler?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to recognize the sweat equity that was put in there. Mr. Rory, that 66,000 total, that was 99,060 pounds. And 3 Saturday, that the Boy Scouts and members of the community has worked hard out there. Charles, I'm looking at you. Has worked hard on cleaning that up so that we can get some equity out of this property so that we can beautify Spring Lake and get on the right track. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Commissioner Foster, I don't know if your light is on, so if you just gotta let me know.
It should be off now, right?
It works.
I'm not, okay, first of all, I'm not this incompetent. But, let me just say that when we're looking at this number in this property, there are a lot of people that don't know the history of this whole thing we're talking about right now. So it sounds like, okay, you guys are closing a bid for 75,000, for this property, and you're saying a lot of other stuff I don't understand. The point is that there was a scheme to try to subvert the requirements of the state to borrow $3.5 million to buy such a property up. And prior to even coming up with that scheme, they had already bought a couple pieces of property to get that done. This is one of the pieces of property. So I'm all in favor of disposing of this property, getting it out of the way, because this is just the first rung of the ladder here when it comes to this whole mess. And so hopefully by the time I leave office, we're all done with that. It's highly unlikely, but I hope that it's a lot easier for the next board that comes in. So it seems like my basic understanding of the bid process that we're going to advertise it and accept bids that are at least 10% above the current price. Is that accurate?
It's a little more complicated than that. It's like 10% more than the first 1,000 and then 5% after that.
Yes, that's right.
So it's kind of wonky.
So it's not open, other people have opportunity, is what you're saying?
Yes, it's open to the public.
Thank you, that's all. Is my light on?
All right, well, I'll now entertain a motion to approve resolution 2025-08, declaring certain real property as surplus and authorizing the sale pursuant to NCGS 160A 269. Commissioner Blackman.
So moved.
Commissioner Thompson.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Yes, congratulations, most definitely. That's a big deal. You guys don't even understand how, complex Spring Lake property acquisition has been. It's been something that we have been navigating since we took office. So this is a huge win to be able, like, Commissioner Blasio said, climb that first rung in the ladder. All right, ordinance 2025-02, an ordinance to amend the town of Spring Lake's fiscal year 25-26 rate and fee schedule. Mr. Ruiz is what he was alluding to earlier, so we'll move on with that.
Real quickly, basically, there's only two provisions that are changed in here. You've been provided with an update copy on the desk. Number one, the bulk water rate will go to $5.08. That's for tier one. Tier two will be basically the same, but at the end of the day, it's gonna be whatever the rate is that's charged to us from PWC, plus 10% for the purpose of making sure we can reinvest in the system. And the second change to this is adding the sign permits, for inadvertently they were left out of the rate schedule. So we were trying to modify it, clean it up, and we just got this. So we put it back into play. And then the one little caveat that will be included, this is the Board of Commissioners reserves the right to adjust the bulk water rate at any time in response to rate increases implemented by the Federal Public Works Commission or Harnett Regional Water. Those are the only two things that are changing.
And I understand a motion to approve ordinance 2025-02, the ordinance to amend the town of Spring Lake's fiscal year 25-26 rate and fee schedule. Mayor Pro Tem. So moved.
I second that.
Any discussion? Commissioner Blackman.
Mr. Roy and staff, thank you for the hard work that is done on this. This is something that has not been caught, hasn't been something that has been noticed for a decade. And looking out here at the residents, I want to apologize to you for this oversight that has taken place for so long. We're working hard to make things right for you, but also the non-taxpayers in the Spring Lake that are outside the county, or outside our city limits, to pay what is just and fair for what they do. So thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, we will now move on to agenda item 8B, our budget amendment, BA for fiscal year 2026. Mr. Overton?
Good evening. This is a budget amendment to Fund 66, our sanitation fund. At the end of last year, our sanitation fund had a fund balance of about $996,000. What we would like to do is purchase a big truck chassis and a roll-off hoist that can haul these great commercial construction dumpsters, roll-off containers. And we've got a bid that is piggybacked off the state to buy the chassis. So we don't have to get another bid because another town bought a similar chassis to this. We're also getting 2 of the roll-off containers at $6,000 each. And the truck comes with a 5-year warranty. The total price for everything is $256,061. That's the quote that we received from the vendor. Our budget amendment is $250,000 from fund balance in Fund 66 to buy this equipment. What we can use this equipment for is we can put these roll-off containers in neighborhoods and allow the residents to bring their trash and put it in the dumpster where it belongs instead of throwing it all over the streets. And Mr. Lackman and his volunteers have to then go pick it up. We can also rent these dumpsters out possibly to towns for construction projects and get a little money back from that. And the other use of these things is we have 167 blighted properties throughout town, which we are going to start enforcing the code, and eventually some of these properties will have to be demolished by the town if the property owners do not demolish it themselves or bring it back up to code. And so we could also use these things there in case we do have to demolish buildings. So, this is some equipment that I think could be, used very often, and we recommend that you approve this budget amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Overton. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, you said that we could possibly rent them out. Have we come up with,
No, we haven't done the fees yet. Get the equipment first, and then we'll see if we can rent it out and recapture some of our money. But that is a possible use.
And the other thing is, this is coming from fund balance, which means we do not have to get approval from the LGC, correct?
Right, yeah, we're not borrowing any money for this, we're paying cash for it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lackman?
Mr. Overton, you're pretty good on numbers, and you said a little. And I hope you meant that as a mistake, in that when we rent these dumpsters out, that it not only covers our costs, but also helps replace and upgrade our equipment as we go forward here. So, a little is a little low.
After we buy the equipment, then we'll figure out what the fee is to rent it out.
Yes.
I actually already have it here, I just haven't got to here.
Yes.
So I've met with staff, and we've talked about the moving pieces that are associated with that. We want to be a part of the solution to our community, not a part of the problem. So, in my mind, when you look at the asset itself, the capital asset, in this case, the roll-off dumpster, the truck to haul it, those types of things, it's being purchased from fund balance. At the end of the day, all of our residents in town own that equipment. So now, if we can help them help themselves, it helps everybody. And that's what we mean by making sure this is price appropriate, but also it's beneficial for our health and how we do that. So we're on top of it.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments from the board? All right, thank you so much. Mr. Overton, I'll now entertain a motion to approve, budget amendment 4. Commissioner Lackman?
So moved.
Commissioner Thompson?
I second.
Any discussion? Mr. Roy?
I got light at work. Down here or something, yes, down here. While Jimmy's here, I'm gonna put him on the spot, in terms of the quarterly report. Jimmy, let's talk specifically about the general fund, not the sanitation. And we've talked a lot over the last year in regards to fund balance. Where are we currently in regards to fund balance for the general fund?
Okay, 5 years ago in 2021, our fund balance in the general fund was about $1 million negative. I just ran a calculation last week of our fund balance available in the general fund, and it was 61% for the current year. There are two reasons for that. Our cash in the general fund now is $5 million. Okay. Second thing, 4 years ago, our expenditures in the general fund were about $8.5 million. Our expenditures in the general fund this past year were only $7.5 million. So our expenditures were down $1 million. Part of that is cost savings. Part of that is we did not, we budgeted a bunch of money for street resurfacing and Powell Bills. Well, they got that started in June, but they did not finish it. It's ongoing now. So we didn't spend all of that. So that's one reason that 61% is up so much, because you reduced the denominator. So that, and also you raised the cash, and so our budget is about $9 million in the general fund, and we have over $5 million in cash, so our fund balance available would be over 50%. We calculated out at 61. Our fund balance unassigned that we can spend anyway, you take out the amount that's reserved for debt service, the amount that's reserved for Powell Bill, and can only be spent spent on the streets and the amount that is restricted by state statute, which is our accounts receivable. You can't spend it till you actually collect it. You take that out, it drops that from 60% to right around 40% unassigned. So we are in way better shape than what we were 4 years ago.
What is our target?
Our target is to have at least 35%. So now these numbers are preliminary, because we still have some adjustments, receivables that haven't come in yet, and we may still have a few payables outside. But it's going to be around 60% and 40%. Fund balance available that we can spend, and then fund balance unassigned that we can spend in any way we choose. So,
How many departments met the cost savings factor of 2%?
all of them.
Except for
Spring Lake property acquisition. Okay, all of the departments the target was to not spend more than 98% of your budget, have 2% left over. Every department was under 98. Well, part of that is we try to control the spending. The second part is we actually looked at our budget this year instead of setting it on the shelf and not looking at it again for 12 months. So we did amend it as we went along.
Awesome. That's the relief that you get to know where we started and all of the long hours, the way, I mean, we've been through 4 managers with this board. We have the LGC in control of our finances. We were negative $1 million. This is phenomenal, and just in under 4 years, that's what's been able to happen in this town. Imagine what Fort Worth can do. It'll be a brand new place as long as we can continue to move in the direction that we're moving. Thank you. This is phenomenal. We were in the middle of a motion.
I want to make sure we got that out.
Very important. Never did I have something?
Well, since we were talking about it, what percentage of, property tax do we end up collecting?
I don't know the exact number, was over 99.5. Yes, thank the county for that. They did a really good job in collection this year, but it's about 99.5. You can't do much better than that.
No. Wow. Such good news. Okay, well, all in favor? The motion carries, and thank you for the good update. Okay, so, we are now at our mayor's report, and I will be very brief because we were out of session for the entire month of July for a much needed breather and time for the staff to do some renovations in here, which I just can't stop admiring. So I don't have very many updates, except for First Friday kickoff on the 1st in August, and we are ramping up for September, October, and November. So stay connected. Vendors, sponsors are all welcome to reach out via email to our town clerk. Please do not call, please email clerk@townofspringlake.com so that we can track that, track your interest, and that is all I have. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. First, I want to reiterate the great work that staff did in here. This was all staff driven. The carpet, they laid the carpet, they put up the sheetrock, everything. I saw when I was coming, they were painting the baseboards. And if anybody on staff is in here who participated, can we please give them some recognition?
Can you stand, please?
Please stand.
Raise your hand or something.
The 3 windows in the back.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but that wall was not there.
Yeah.
That wall is not a part, it's not an original part. They just built that. Doors and everything, so, yeah, phenomenal.
And I, also in the absence of the, mayor who was celebrating her, 1 year anniversary, my niece, and, here, I I attended the Mayor's Coalition in her absence, and, we had Colonel Nixon there, who talked about some of the new, troops that will be coming here through 2028, and that they are gonna be doing a lot of repaving of roads, on Fort Bragg. And also they are working to get the sign changed back to Fort Bragg. So they said that, have patience because they're trying to get them, replaced as soon as possible. Chairman Deviere from the county was there, and he talked about some, projects that they are working on, including an aquatic center, that would, even beat the one in Hope County. And then the health department was there, and they talked about some programs, that they are gonna be bringing to Spring Lake, and they also have programs where, if it's not here, they will offer a Uber, and I invited them to come and speak to us. Because one thing I'm always gonna do is say, okay, you have this in Fayetteville, we don't have buses in the other municipalities, how do our people get there? And they're starting to listen, so every program they mention, they have a way for people to get there if they don't have transportation. And, they'll be here, they'll come and present it, but they've also got some programs they're working on for Spring Lake only, but they're waiting for the commissioners to announce it. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Donovan?
The only thing I have is, it's going to be back to school time, and I just would like to wish all the teachers, staff, volunteers, and the students a safe and happy school year. That's all I have.
Commissioner Blackman?
Mayor, thank you. It's nice to see so many people out here in the audience tonight. It's good that you all are involved and come out to our town meetings to see what's going on. The budget, it's great that we've got that passed and we've got something to work with to go forward for this upcoming year. Jimmy, we still haven't forgot about the audit, so you're not off the hook there yet. The MVAC, MVAC is the Military Veterans Affairs Advisory Committee. I'd like to thank all the members who work to better our community. I'll say we've got 2 openings on our committee and invite the residents to come out and to participate, to see what's going on. And if it's something that you want to join, we would love to have you come out there and be a part of the MVAC. On Saturday, August 9th, the MVAC held a fundraiser at the Fayetteville Harley-Davidson for the suicide awareness. Little cook-off we had out there to bring some money in for suicide awareness. September 13th, on Saturday, we're having a motorcycle run that's going to go from Spring Lake to Sanford or to Lillington and back to Spring Lake. That's to raise awareness for suicide prevention. 22 a day is just way too many. Our annual Veteran of the Year, Mayor, it's open and we're accepting nominations for people that you feel is worthy to represent Spring Lake as the 4th Veteran of the Year. The application is on the website under military programs. You can email me, you can email the clerk if you would like to get a copy of that so that you can get this turned in by Friday, September 17th, so that on the 23rd that we can start evaluating these nominations and see who will represent Spring Lake 2025 as the Veteran of the Year. So I'd also like to thank Focus Group 1. David gave a wonderful presentation. I learned more about wastewater at this meeting as well as the focus group meeting that we had there. But it's needed. It's those underground, unseen structures that we must maintain. The right of ways, getting these leaks fixed, getting these valves repaired so that we can continue to provide safe water and the removal of the wastewaters throughout the town of Spring Lake in a good, efficient manner. Since our last meeting, way back when last year, I think it was, we've had 2 cleanups. July 12th, we had 15 volunteers. We had Delta Company, Scouts from Troop 902, our regular volunteers, 3 town employees on a very hot and humid day. We went out there, we cleaned up 14,760 pounds, along with the town employees on this property that needs a lot of attention. Many thanks go to the town employees who helped make this happen. And on August 2nd, it was a cool, rainy, dreary day. We had 3 volunteers that went out and cleaned up in the town of Spring Lake. Charles, he's always out there. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Armand Perone from the Military Veterans Affairs and myself went out there. We cleaned up about 750 pounds of trash throughout the town. So as a total, we're over 103,000 pounds of trash that has been picked up in the town of Spring Lake and properties that are owned by the town of Spring Lake. So, you know, don't think that a volunteer goes unnoticed or that you don't make a difference. That makes a huge difference on what we've done. So I just want to give kudos to Charles. Thank you. That's it for me, Mayor.
The Appearance Committee has a meeting this Wednesday, the 13th, at 4 p.m. at the rec center. Sorry about that. And so at 4 p.m. Wednesday, we also have a new mural going up. So if you haven't drove by the park yet, Mendoza Park, it's going on that building facing 87, and it's going to be highlighting state symbols here in North Carolina, and part of it is going to have a picturesque view of Spring Lake. You'll recognize it as it comes to fruition, but we're excited about that. The total completion is about a month time frame, give or take, because it's got more detail, but it goes along with the park renovations that are going on. So we're excited about that. So thank you, Appearance Committee members that are here and that were here tonight for their hard work. Thanks.
Mr. Roy?
We're about, was it 10 minutes over the hour, right?
Yeah.
This looks complicated. Let me frame it a little bit. So, March 28, 1967. We're going way back, about 58 years ago. The minute you're born, you begin to break down.
Correct.
All right, so 58 years in the making now, arthritis in my shoulders. If I get down here and lay carpet, I have to have the rest of the guys to help me get up. So frame that, if you will, in terms of what we talk about when we talk about our metering system with the town of Spring Lake. Just what this chart is something I asked 3 members of our staff to come up with, and basically it highlights the different types and age of the meters in our system. So I know that you have a copy on your desk. I know this is hard to see. I get it. I understand, right? But it's so much data that you're trying to do the math, live within the math, and think about what that means. Roughly, what this tells me is how many, we have 4,044 meters on our system. Okay? This tells me how many of them are SR2 meters made by census. Tells me how many of them are over 25 years old. Yes, we have over, 747 meters over 25 years old. So, and then it tells me how many meters are on a given route. Our current way we read these meters, they don't necessarily open the lid, 2 different things, but they have to get out of the vehicle. Every one of those census SR2 meters, and in this case, 1,640 of our 4,044 meters are capable of being adapted with an antenna. To where now, instead of getting out and touching the meter, they ride by. Okay? So that means we can increase our efficiency of, at least right now, if we adapt these 1,640 to drive-by reads. The other component of that is then how do we convert at least half or 50% of our meters to drive-by? My goal in the discussion point was to create a SMART goal, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant time, so that we can look at this across this fiscal year and come up with a plan of action that includes, y'all heard it, and money, machines, and materials. How do you make this happen? And so the other part of this tells me how many meters I would have to install new and the cost per meter new to convert roughly 2,329 of our meters of our 4,044 meters. The limitation there, the cap is man, money, machines, and materials. And so I put in a cost calculation here, plus or minus, it's not completely accurate, that in order to convert us by June 30, 2026, 2,329 meters in a drive-by capacity read, you're looking at roughly $1,081 and $410, $410,000, so about $1.5 million total to get there. Right? Man, money, machines, materials. So I can't roll out enough people to do it. So what I need to do is take a priority approach utility-wise and look at these different routes. And so when I look at a route, those that are highlighted in yellow, you'll see some of them have one of them down there in particular, number 24, Route 24, has 359 total meters, and 310 of them are SR2s. So if I took all 359 meters and converted them to SR2s and antenna reads, that one route would be completely dry. Yeah. So now I get to identify where I get the most bang for the buck. So this is what you will commonly hear us refer to as the meter project. You heard David talk about AIA in terms of the water, and he said that we're only billing for 60%. The reality is we're billing for less than 50%, depending on how much water is going in. So in July, don't hold me close to, just keep it close to this number. We purchased 34 million gallons of water. We paid that $4.62 from PwC for up to 20 million. After that, 20 million to 30 million or whatever, it becomes $6 and something per thousand. So the question you have to ask is, if we're purchasing 30 million and only billing for 50% of it, where's the other 15 million gallons going? Alright, that's the first assumption, leaks. But if you go back there and you ask Jason, and the water crews, what are you doing to combat this problem? They're knee deep, literally, figuratively, metaphorically, or however you want to look at it. They're knee deep in the mud fixing these leaks. So if I ask him, do we have 15 million gallons of leakage a month? I think somebody would see that. Yeah. Unless it's in part of the thick green lines that was running through the woods, nobody knows. We found some of those too. It is my belief, and the belief of others, that when you look at route number 1, that has 45 meters that are over 25 plus years, over the course of the last year, when we change it and put a new meter in, at least 4 or 5 times someone's come up here and says, I've never used that much water before. It's because the meter hadn't been reading that much water in a long time. And so our meters are a part of the problem. So we have to combat this from all different angles. We can't just focus on water leaking in the ground. We got to think about how you read these meters as well. And so that would tell me, or the assumption is that if your meter's not reading correctly, and you're using 5,000, but it's only reading 3,000, then it's 2,000 you're not being charged for. It's the same thing when you look at overheads. It's the same thing when you look inside. The accuracy of those meters are important. And we've got to begin to combat that problem. If we don't, we're going to be chasing our tails with eye and eye on the sewer side. We're going to be chasing our tails saying we're spending this much on leaks. Rate's going to go up, just because we're trying to sustain the system. And we need to fix the system to have sustainability in the system. That's the whole part of the meter project, and I wanted to share that as a caveat and kind of an ending statement for me too.
Just a quick question. Quick question. How long are meters supposed to last?
Well, I don't know, as long as they last. I don't know how long I'm gonna last either, right? But I do know this, the SR2s have a, unlimited warranty for 10 years, and have a prorated warranty for 5 years. So the assumption is, they're not gonna have any problems for 10 years. What we're recommending to replace them with is what's called an iPearl meter. It has an unlimited warranty, 15 years, and a prorated for another 5. So you've got a 20-year warranty period. So that begins to answer the question as to how long does it last, when they're only gonna warranty it up to where the point where they don't think they're gonna have to pay. But in no case should it be in excess of 25 years. I would argue that our meter replacement should be on a 10 to 15 year cycle schedule, so we get this converted into routes and what they are and start that process. Now that will become part of the capital improvement plan, and be able to say, if I replace your meter in 2025, I probably need to be thinking about replacing your meter again in 2035 or 2040. That should be listed by evidence.
Yes, awesome. Well, mine's already replaced, so I got over 15 years. I was probably one of the first meters to get a new one. Do you have any updates, Mr. Porter?
Just very briefly, going back to Focus Group 2, it really is a big thing. I've probably done, quite frankly, the least amount of work in that group out of all the group members. Most of them are here or work here. But as Commissioner Palacio said, that really is going to be a big update, because Mr. Rory has talked on this for, I think, since retirement, that our ordinances just don't marry up with the current statutes, and they're vague and clunky. And Stephanie Hutchins, I want to make sure I got her name correct and give her a public shout out. And they've been working with Mr. Rory and others to really, it's going to be comprehensive. It might overwhelm you a little bit, but it's going to be much more precise. And if y'all approve it, of course, that's up to y'all. But much more precise by Spring Lake, by holding some of these properties accountable. Chief Jarman showed us some of the properties, and we were there, man. You were there. I was like, oh my God. So yeah, I just wanted to I guess, piggyback on what Commissioner Palacios has said. And those meetings are long. I'm starting with sandwiches for everybody. So I'm sure the water one was long too. I can imagine. Yes, or like one of those giant long sandwiches or something. I can only imagine how long y'all's was, because that was. But they're doing a very hard work. I just wanted everybody to know how hard. I know all of them are working hard, but actually it's working.
Absolutely. Okay. If there are no more updates, we will now, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A1 confidentiality, and pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A6 personnel. Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioner Palacios. Second. All right, we are now in closed session. Thank you all for coming out. We greatly appreciate you. We'll see you soon. Get home safely. We got work to do. That's a part of it. It's a part of it.
They don't have meetings as long as Fayetteville.
Yeah, nobody out here to fight with.
Somebody